Can you hear me now? Thank you. And as again, we'll say thank you again for coming to Trilogy and our company as we present another opportunity. And we're so grateful and thankful that you are attending with us here tonight. And over the years, you have been great with us, and you have been behind us, and we really appreciate that. With the beyond our panel tonight for our discussion, Mrs. Allen Dawson, my community Ryan, Mrs. Margaret Crawford, also is with us here tonight as we come at the panel tonight. But as before we start, just like to say that each time that we present these conferences, that we think of you, have you at the center of our attention when we present these conferences each and every time, each year that we present to you. But so tonight, I just want to ask our panel, let them give you a little insight to what this hour is about. But first of all, I'm going to ask Sister Valerie Hunter. Sister, I know when Martin Luther King writing the speech, what do you think that he had in his mind, what he was trying to convey to our audience and to our brothers?
Thank you. So, Dr. King, beyond Vietnam, a time to break silence. I will explain to you what he thought, what he shared, and what was in the speech. In 1967, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. publicly opposed the Vietnam War in his famous speech. The central message of Beyond Vietnam, a time to break silence, is that true peace cannot exist without justice. Dr. King argued that ending war, eliminating poverty, and overcoming racial discrimination are inseparable goals, and that individuals and nations have a moral responsibility to challenge injustice wherever it occurs. The court needs an historical context. Inter-equal, domestic intent, and a call for value. Dr. King argued, as it relates to inter-equal, that war was a symptom of a deeper spiritual crisis in American life, explicitly naming the giant triplets of racism, extreme materialism, and militarism. Domestic neglect. He highlighted the cruel irony of Black and white Americans fighting together abroad for a country that denied them basic civil rights at home. He pointed out that funds redirected to the Vietnam buildup essentially destroyed domestic and anti-poverty programs. A call for value, Dr. King challenged the United States to undergo a radical revolution of values, a transition from a thing-oriented society to a person-oriented society. In addition, he spoke about core needs, and there are 6 core needs. I will do 2 of them. Opposition to the Vietnam War. Dr. King condemned the Vietnam War as unjust and immoral. He argued that it causes unnecessary suffering, especially for Vietnamese civilians and American
Crawford, what do you think of that?
Well, I'd like to invite our audience to join us and to question core themes that they think Dr. King entertained in this movement. Audience, how about a question? What comes to mind? Justice. Dr. King felt there was a moral responsibility. He declared that remaining silent in the face of injustice was unacceptable. He believed religious leaders, citizens, and governments had a moral duty to oppose violence and promote justice. Excellent question. Can you think of another theme Dr. King pursued in these 6 speeches? Peace, global justice, and human rights was a link to racism, poverty, and war as interconnected forms of injustice. Dr. King called for respect for the dignity and rights of all people, regardless of nationality or race. Another theme, love. Wow. Love is one of the fruit of the Spirit. Dr. King had a vision for peace. He advocated nonviolence as both a moral principle and a practical approach to resolving conflicts. He envisioned a world built on cooperation, justice, most of all, compassion rather than fear and violence. There were similarities that Dr. King espoused in the Vietnam War that we're able to link to the Iran War. The human cost is still central. Public protest continues. Most of all, there's an economic trade-off. Critics still argue that war spending takes away from domestic need, educating future leaders of America, health care for all citizens. And now, Sister Valerie, tell us your vision for the differences now that we have explored the similarities.
Thank you. The key differences today, we have media and technology. Modern wars are seen instantly via social media and public opinion that goes very fast. The complexity of geopolitical today, conflict often involves multiple nations, alliances, and non-state actors. Less unified movements. Unlike the Vietnam era, today's anti-war movements are often more fragmented. So I would like to talk about some of the core comparisons. The Vietnam War versus the war today. Moral stance, strongly anti-war, rooted in nonviolence. That's in the Vietnam era. Today's war, mixed views, some support intervention, others oppose. Public reaction, massive, unified protests during the Vietnam War. Today's war, still protests, but more divided. Media influence, TV and newspapers during the Vietnam War. Today's war, instant global coverage via internet and social media. Overall focus, the civil rights and anti-war linked directly to the Vietnam War. Today's war, often separate movement, human rights, geopolitical, and other. The big takeaway here is, if Dr. King was alive today, many historians believe he would likely question the moral justification of war, emphasize nonviolence and diplomacy, highlight the importance on the poor and marginalized, connect war spending to domestic inequalities. In short, their war is a modern, high-tech, global impact war, not just a single country conflict. Final insight, which is more important. The biggest difference between Dr. King's time and now is this. We understand the consequences of war faster, but not act on them less collectively. In the 1960s, it took time for people to see the truth, the mass protests form. Today, we see everything instantly, but responses are divided, distracted, and short-lived. Tell me, audience, could this become a larger war? Anyone? In essence, I will say, the Iranian conflict has highlighted the potential to spread regionally and globally. This is one of the most important modern concerns, and I need for all of us here to think about it. Thank you.
One word. What would one word be between the two wars if you had that experience?
Suffering. Human suffering.
How about you, Sister?
Human rights not being given the priority globally it deserves.
Thank you to both of you for those fine words and explanation between what was happening in 1967 based on now. So we got to have clarification what Martin Luther King was about 1967 when he gave his speech at the Riverside Church in New York. So he was confused, he was upset, and he was angry, but what was going on at the time because he did not have Thank you everyone for coming, and please now enjoy a homage to the King. Thank you.
I come to this magnificent house of worship tonight because my conscience leads me no other choice.
richer, higher, not bigger buildings, higher foundations. He asked us to tell the truth, to build a nation with our hearts. And why is that so hard? We can pray all we like, but if we don't participate, we'll feel the echoes and look for a body we cannot be silent in. We cannot be silent. We cannot be silent, nor can we ignore. How can we heal with our eyes closed? How can we change what we refuse to see? Can you see the beauty growing from difficult places? Can you see it written in sidewalk chalk by a third grader who still believes tomorrow deserves color? Can you see it in the hands, the cracked hands of milk farmers growing a future we've been hungry enough to imagine? Can you see our children? Our children walking toward a magnificent tomorrow, carrying wealth the world hasn't learned how to count? We are rich, but who do we want to become? A nation measuring profit, bankrupting compassion? A generation that builds buildings? A building is a building is a building. But what good is it if the foundation can't hold our humanity? What are we building? Belonging? Concrete chaos? Community? Truth? Love? Justice? Righteousness? Power? Or our souls? I know we're trying to remember. See, in Newark, we've carried wounds and dreams. We've carried each other's screams. Now, it's time for us to carry our future. We cannot be silent. We cannot be silent. Write the poem, sing the song, paint the mural, dance in the street, tell the story, water the child, honor the elder, hug the block. Remember who kept the porch lights on? Who planted the orchids before anyone believed they could bloom? Call their names. Call their names like scripture. Call them like jazz. Call them until every child knows they did not arrive here alone. These are dark times. Let us become light. Let us become love. Let us become the answer to the questions Dr. King trusted us to carry. Higher, higher, higher. Not because heaven is farther away, but because our humanity is calling us higher.
today. History is running with the records of nations and individuals that pursued this self-defeating path. They crowd desperate at the time long in the past. Time is never to endlessly rush on over the bleak bones and number residues of numerous generations, written in the pathetic words too late. We still have a choice today.
To fight and to die extraordinarily. I rest of the population. We were taking the black young man who had been crippled by a society and sending them 8,000 miles away to guarantee liberty in Southeast Asia, which they had not found in Southwest Georgia and East Harlem. So we have been repeatedly faced with the cruel irony of watching Negro and white boys on TV as they kill and die together in a nation for which they have been struggling for a long time, together for the same cause. So we watch them in brutal solidarity burning the hut of hardcore villainy. But remember that we live on the same streets in Chicago. I could not be silent. In the face of such cruel manipulation of the As I walk among the desperate, rejected, and angry young men, as I have told them that Molotov cocktails and rifles could not solve their problems. I have tried to offer my deepest was amusing. All kinds of bombs to make our main things known, to bring about changes he wanted. Their questions he told, and I knew that I could never again raise my voice against the tolerance and the evilness that was in the world, in the ghetto, without having first talking clearly to the greatest affair in the world today. My own government, for the sake of the boys, for the sake of the government, for the sake of the hundreds of thousands trembling under our violence, I cannot be silent. We chose our motto. descendants of his slaves, we found rebellion against themselves. In our way we were a dream like Stelios, that black bard of Homage, who had written earlier. America to me, and yet I sing this song. America will be. Oh yes, I say it plain. Oh yes, I say it plain. America is America to me, and yet I'll sing this song. America will be. If America's soul is totally poisoned, part of the autopsy must read Vietnam. It can never be safe so long as it destroys man, and no more man can lose. So it is. I want to recognize Christopher Bello and Kaylin Maynor for all that they have done in terms of the projections and the lights. Let us give them a round of applause. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're closing out our summer now. It's time to go on vacation, huh? Yes, we hope that you understood what we were talking about this evening, because we presented this piece actually in protest not only of the Vietnam War when it happened, but what? The war in Iran. It seems as though we are doing the same thing all over again. Let us not go down that path. Let us look for peace and love, not just in our country, but across the world. In the fall, Trilogy will do Garvey, Marcus Garvey. And that will end our season before we begin again. And our following season will include the following pieces, if I can remember them. Emmett Till. Scott Garner Gray says Jimmy Baldwin. Bumpy Johnson. Nat Turner. And Wagner's Die Walküre. We hope that you will make it. Come and support us. Give us all the money that you have. And then some. Now, this evening, for those of you who wish, we will go down to Alicante, 212 Market Street in the city of Newark. And we will have a drink or two or something to eat. And we will go Dutch. God bless you all, and thank you once again.